Okay, you there?
Yes. So welcome to the show. Welcome, listeners. Um, the show today is going to be about my voice from shouting last night. It's going to be about targeted individuals and what targeting is and how it works and who's doing it.
That's very good for Monday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty vile out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone cold again. After perking up a bit yesterday, I was out yesterday. I went for a walk, so consequently, I'm shattered today. But the amount of people that were out, it was
Yeah,
like,
it's crowded here.
everybody get out.
What I have got for channeling recently is the good news that those that have been targeted are the forces that target them, the off-planet forces, are retreating against that because basically it's turned so that the whole of humanity is being targeted. So ones that have been individually targeted, there's a certain amount of lifting off of them, well, a lot of lifting off of them. So they should be feeling a lot of relief, starting about now, growing, and they're going to see it externalized, so they'll see it in front of them, it happening to everyone else around them. Whereas before, it's been a feeling of massive isolation, massive like, oh, am I paranoid? Massive having to live with the feeling that you're a loser, living with the feeling I'm someone that bad things happen to, etc., etc. I'm someone that has bad luck, and seeing other people living life almost like a Disneyland dream and wondering, why aren't I like that? Am I a bad person? How come good luck is happening to somebody else? A lot of the targeting includes people near to you getting things like job promotions or artistic success that you think you deserve or have been working for. So that is how targeting takes place. One of the ways that many others, and of course for this lifting off of targeted individuals, there's going to be the balance of a lot of dark entities are going to be loosened from that. A lot of dark entities are going to be sent out, but the good thing of it is people that have been targeted will be able to help others now who don't really who don't really understand what targeting is, don't understand that there is that going on, that humanity lives in this kind of petri dish of experimentation, and have seen life in in a strange way. They haven't seen the evil. It's just been people who have had evil visited on them have seen it, and others have been blissfully unaware, and now they will be experiencing that. So it's up to people that have been targeted individually to help them navigate what will probably appear to them as a new world.
Well, I'm amazed because I recognise so much of what you just said because I felt that lifting recently.
Yeah.
And it's hard to describe, but I've definitely felt it. And like I said, when I was out on my walk yesterday, amongst nature and all that, so it clears your head a bit, doesn't it? And calms you down, it's therapeutic. And I
Yeah.
thought my life has completely changed, and it's still in the process of change. It just felt like a load of dark, heavy energy had gone, but it was still in the process of going. Um,
Yeah. It's
Almost
what's
like you've
happening.
got oily, horrible, oily stuff on you, and it's sliding off you.
Yes, 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 yes.
And you,
And a certain
yeah,
certain belief, almost like pins coming out or something,
fins coming out,
pins, needles, pins like falling out.
pins. Oh no, I haven't
Yeah.
experienced. that, but definitely, I definitely feel different. Um, that's interesting what you say about the rest of humanity is going to be targeted. So
Yeah.
this was through a channel, and you got this information.
Yeah, channeling with my guides that I'm feeling very connected, more connected to, which is good. And so yeah, but it matches with the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is where which we're coming into is what is being hidden will now be overt. So it's like targeting, targeting, all targeting is really is the people that experience it. And I think it's, bloodline people, people that are psychic, anybody that has got anything to illuminate others as to what the world is like, experiences the targeting, which is awful. It's like a kind of almost like a tagging, and then you have people act against you. So you will have, say, you might go to a new office to work, and there'll be somebody in there that you will feel, if you're sensitive, you will feel that them taking it like an instant dislike to you, and you won't know why. And that will happen more or less everywhere you go, whether it be introduced to a new set of friends or what have you. And it's because this person will be hosting the entity. So the entities will be carrying out the targeting, and they will put it into the head of the person that's hosting that you're a bad person or that you're trouble. And so they will be thinking that, and they will act against you for no apparent reason. Well, you'll be thinking, well, what have I done? I've only just arrived. I mean, have they heard something about me? Has gossip gone round? But it
all
won't.
my life that's happened. Ever since I was a child, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Loads of different situations, and it's exactly like you describe. You're thinking, what? Yeah, you're bewildered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my life doesn't make sense, to be quite honest. I don't think TI's lives do make any sense.
No, because you get, you see other people making natural progressions. They'll meet someone they love, they'll have their marriage, they'll buy a house, and everything will be like just effortless in some kind of way. Like effortless. Yes, people do work obviously for things, but people will work and then get the gratification. Whereas if you're a target individual, you'll work and not get it. Although be a some kind of slap. They're like regular slaps, like you'll get something like ill health will come in, or some kind of financial burden. And often TIs have people around them, like they can get partners, and the partners, either they will have a partner or someone that offers them some kind of solace against living in a world that is like that, that seems hostile. And that person will be attacked and replaced. And it might feel odd, it might feel odd to say that, but that person, that might be a friend of the same sex, it might be a lover, they will, be some kind of a support. And what will happen, their support person will be attacked, and then they will be swapped in. So they will have like a walk-in, or they will get their core self removed and like trapped somewhere, and they will have entities ride them. So then you will go to the support person, and that person will like subtly screw things up for you or subtly bring you down. And they'll be like kind of more like prison guards than friends. And so, you might share things with them, and they will subtly bring that down. You will tell them things, and they will pass that around to people, knowing that it will harm you. And the way that the entities put it to the person is, oh, they're bad, oh, they're this, they're that, and they will have that, and you will get that reflected back at you. You're an unworthy person, there's something wrong with you. And then that will be your life, that you will get up in the morning and you will immediately have this mirroring of you're unworthy, you're a bad person, something wrong with you. and that's how you live your life in quite a, in quite an awful way, in quite a shabby way, in quite a depressing way. And even, people get targeted in their neighborhoods. They get that gang stalking, as they call it, which is, things like gossip, say, and it might bother some more than others. Like, the women of the community will get together and there'll be one that will kick off the gossip about you. And then, it will start. And then the gang mentality will mean you'll get left out, could mean your child will get left out. And this will go on. And normally, gang stalking and that kind of thing will seep down to children. And then also the horror of that, excuse me, is that when you move, you might think, I don't want this, I'm going to move to get away from it. And then you'll move, and the situation you move to will have exactly the same thing. You'll have a neighbor that's very unfriendly, that will take a massive and instant dislike to you, and it starts again. So it just can be awful. It can be like just a little mouse stuck in a trap, that everywhere you turn there's hostility, dislike, and it can drive people to suicide. They can have events in their life, such as Brian Harvey, who's targeted you, had this amazing experience of being a pop star, and then of course targeted by a terribly targeting institution, the News of the World, who target him. And you see that would have been individuals in there. Greg Miskew, he was a raging alcoholic. Of course, entities ride on alcoholics. So he had entities riding him, and he would think of people to target. Who we target? I don't know if but the entities will put the ideas into their head who to target. Oh, you should target this one.
Oops.
They will, be thinking that, oh, I'm the high person, I'm doing the good thing, I'm bringing down somebody that shouldn't be out there as a pop star because they take drugs, or something like that. So they will be thinking to themselves that they're doing good in the world. A lot of these people that do that, like a lot of writers that target those men in prison to do so-called books about them, to rehash the details of crimes. That's an evil thing. And that's done in a way like these writers tell themselves, I'm doing good, I'm exposing evil, I'm investigating evil. Even though those crimes have been investigated, they should be forgotten now, not rehashed. So they tell themselves, I'm doing good. I'm like Batman. I'm cleansing the world. I'm hurting somebody that's evil. So I'm good. And so, like, news editors and newspapers think that they target these people, and they think, I'm cleansing the world. Like you hit, excuse me, serial killers when they kill prostitutes. I'm cleansing the world, like Peter Sutcliffe's cleansing. So they see it as they're doing good. So Brian Harvey is a good example of a TI got targeted, in that way.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever, as far as I know, ever suggested that to him. I've never heard him talk about being a targeted individual.
No, well, I did.
Oh,
He
yeah.
didn't. Yeah, but he didn't go for it. He was, yeah. I understand that, talking to Palladium and stuff, and he said about me, oh, Christine talks to Palladium. I don't even believe there's such a thing as Palladium. There probably is, but it doesn't concern me. I don't even like that. I mean, I think they're probably, something nasty. So I don't talk to Palladians. Did he mean psychic? Probably. Yeah, a lot of people are psychic. I am. I've been like it since a kid. And yeah, I did look at, serial killers and think, not all of them, and think that's not them doing it. That's an entity. And I saw it in their eyes. I saw they were hosting something. And it's not even something that humans would do, to go and take take a woman, take a child, and go and take them somewhere, and then torture them, and then fling them naked on ground. That's an entity, and the entities hate humanity. So what they do, like in the Hillside Stranglings, they will do that, torture, gas, the human, to see it writhing because it hates humanity so much. And then when it flings the body the tortured body naked, like on the hillsides, where people see it. You get the double attack. So you attack the whole community by saying, look, this might happen to you. How safe are you, you know? And also the people that find it. So it's maximum effect. And it's an entity, it's the work of an entity. And, you know, these people that study serial killers and like, oh, I'm trying to find out why they did it. And then they say, oh, it's a sadistic impulse. Well, it's not, it's just pure, it's an entity, for God's sake. And they expect these people to fess up when they get to prison, but these people don't fess up because they're like famous. They get told, oh, you're so interesting, and that Silence of the Lambs rubbish, you know, that serial killers are so strong, and so they latch onto that, and then they tell people that write to them, oh yeah, that's, I just acted, and yeah, that's what I did, I acted, where other people just dream of it, and they sort of get off on society seeing them as so fascinating, but mostly they're just really weak. They're very effeminate, and they have a slippery hold on their own bodies, and they don't even know what's happened to them. That's how stupid they are, really, basically. Stupid and massively egocentric, which is how the entity got in the first place, you know?
Yeah, well, I've said before, it feels like there's a cult around serial killers now, a mini cult of people for various different reasons. I was thinking before, I was researching prisons earlier on this morning for different reasons, and I remembered somebody saying about one of the Jamie Bulger killers. I can't remember which one. Jamie Bulger was killed by two boys. I think
Robbie Thompson and John Venables.
I can't remember which one it was, but when he was in the youth offenders place, the secure unit, it was like he was famous, and so I think people who were in the unit wanted to work with him because it was like kudos. Yeah, if that's the right word. And I thought, how sick is that? How sick is that? That's your reward for doing that in this life, is you get that. You know,
and who encourages that but the media? Who encourages that but writers? I remember reading a book about Brady called Beyond Belief, and this piece of shit that wrote it, Emlyn Williams, he described him as being able to come out of his body and go and threaten someone in their house. He actually wrote that, and he wrote he was able to talk to impressive figures from the past, and all sorts, you know. And then it's weird because I then met Brady thinking, wow, it's a fascinating individual, and just met this like little old lady. He was like a little old lady you meet up the road. It was like, hang on. Yeah. That man is so boring. It's scary. The amount of ordinariness. He is massively ordinary. And what he's got is a slippery hold on his body, and the entity comes in. And like with the second serial killer I met, Ken Bianchi, his entity came in when I was there. His entity stuck around and still with him. That's because, you know, he has a lot to do with people outside. And I felt it, and it was, man, it was horrible. It was like 1,000 razor blades were coming at me all at once. It was like the feeling that I wasn't top of the food chain, and I could just feel it. And also, I nearly wet myself. I went to urinate and I froze. So it's like rabbits feel or deers feel when something is there that's going to eat them. They kind of freeze, and it's what food does. Food freezes, so the animal that needs to eat it will be able to get its food. And I experienced that freezing. My whole body, it was like somebody had poured a bucket of ice water over me. So it sort of went like that and froze. And at the same time, I felt like I was going to urinate. And I've never experienced anything so terrifying. And it was non-human. It was non-human. And then I just kind of tried to pull myself out of it by looking down, and my thoughts were scrambling. And he said to me, Chris, are you okay? And I like turned because he sounded like human then, you know, and I just turned and I looked in his eyes, and it was gone. He was back as a human. And I thought, what? And I shook myself out of it.
So it showed itself. Did it
Yeah.
feel like it was off planet or it was demonic?
I don't know really. That's a really interesting question. Um, like nothing I would ever think of before. I suppose it was like recently, recently me having the Sheikh on the show, from Oman, and him, him telling me to meet him in a dream. And when I met him in a dream, he showed me that portal. And then next thing, that entity kept showing up, and he looked like Pinhead off of Hellraiser.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he kept, but set more interesting. His eyes were actually portals. I did find it fascinating, I have to say. And that entity kept showing up. And then, as you know, I think I just posted it on Facebook. I had that experience where the entity took me like on a journey, and he took me on a journey through that portal. And I said I wanted to encounter Iblis just to see what it was like. And he took me to a kind of it was like where I had to travel through something to reach Iblis. And when I traveled through it, I could feel these invisible creatures seething, it was just like hatred, but like invisible. And I thought that's what goes into serial killers. It's like a
Right. So it's very old then. It's ancient.
yeah, it's ancient. It's ancient. And it's like the only way I can describe it is just like a million razor blades. It's just pure hate, but like a hate you've never known, like a ramped up hate. Interestingly, Bianchi said when he was raping and killing, especially the last two girls he took down to the basement, he said he had a really strong cut off, out of control hate, and he had no control against it. Um, yeah, that's what
So
it is. It's a hate, but a massive, like a terrifying, it's just like indescribable in some kind of ways. It would just wipe you out in minutes. The hatred is towards us.
yeah, humanity.
Yeah.
It sounds like I watched the film Constantine recently, and what you've described, like the invisible entities, it and the feeling of hate, it's like when Constantine goes into hell and he
Right.
has all these entities around him, and they
Right.
start to like creep up and behind him, and they're just full of hatred for him because he's a human. It sounds like that scene, but that's really, really interesting what you said. So even Kenneth Bianchi, the serial killer, could feel this thing sort
Yeah.
of surging through him like
Yeah.
electricity or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
he could feel it. So he
Yeah.
wasn't oblivious to it. I mean,
Yeah.
that in itself is so incredible to hear.
Mm.
Oh, that's really.
Yeah, and then people, find these serial killers fascinating. But what you do when you meet them, you meet a shell. You don't meet, you meet a shell. And some of them ham it up, especially Brady. He was pretty disgusting in the way, because they could really dig deep inside themselves and they could fess up the truth. But Brady, no, he was too busy posturing, to people like that Alan Keithley, and then Keithley will write a book full of Brady's lies and horseshit about he's an intellectual. Well, no, he's not. He lived in a council house and he did an office job. He's not an intellectual. He's not powerful, and he's not interesting. None of those things. And yet these people go along and they write down what these people say. And people say to me, why didn't you ever write a book about Brady, about what he said about his letters? Well, why would I? Because it's just horse shit. It's him posturing. I'm not going to put that evil out in the world so teenagers think,
Good.
oh, Brady's cool. Well, he's not cool. He's just he's like a little girl that's in an aged body. They're boring, incredibly people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it.
When you think about it, remember the Oliver Stone film, Natural Born Killers?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago since it came out. but he got it in a way, didn't he? He got the celebrity cult status of
Oh,
serial
yeah,
killers,
yeah.
and he captured that. And I remember when it came out, some people were, I wouldn't say they found it obscene, but some people objected to. They found it an objectionable film.
Mm.
But he was right. They do have cult status, and they are worshipped by some people. But you've got to think, well, yeah, you've got to think, what is it? So it must be the entities that are in these humans that are doing these horrific crimes. It must be the entities that are drawing out of other humans that are drawing this energy, because it's an energy thing, isn't it? They're sucking the energy up of the attention, maybe adoration, fascination.
That's a thought. I've never thought of that before. That's a thought. And what is as well interesting in these cases, there's always someone that steps forward, like in the Hillside. Emlyn Williams did it with Brady, made him out that he was completely otherworldly. He described him as a tiger in such an amazing way. The tiger's eyes flash, the tiger's heavy, powerful body. And then he had to, after
really
David. Oh, it's disgusting. And when David Smith witnessed this rather sordid axe murder of a 17-year-old, a sordid murder, and who invites someone back for a cup of tea? Next thing, there they are sitting on their shabby settee, and they get an axe stuck through the back of the head. Now, that's the most sordid carry on. But if you read Emlyn Williams' book Beyond Belief, you'd think it was some kind of, I don't know, otherworldly experience. It just not good. And then David Smith witnessed it, and then David Smith ran out of the house, ran down the alleyway, and Brady appeared in front of him, clutching the axe, going, "No, you don't go any further." I mean, what the actual, May, this is a real murder you're writing about. You don't get to then go and write some sexy little book where he appears at the end of the alleyway like some kind of superhuman, This is a real murder. He shouldn't have been allowed to write that book. Someone should have come forward and said, actually, no, this is a real happening. It's sordid, it's disgusting. You don't get to make it into something it's not. It's not right. And with the Hillside Stranglings again, somebody came forward. They wrote the same kind of book about the Hillside Stranglers, like, oh, they were so fascinating, and they got it all wrong because Bianchi was the instigator. But no, they had him as just the little sidekick who was called Manumi, and he was the other guy's touchstone, where he said, "Manumi, should we go out tonight?" It made it like, I don't know, something it wasn't. And then it's they that whip up the cult status as wrong. It's very wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Oh God, I forgot what I was going to say then.
So we were talking about targeted individuals, and Brian, for instance, and Brian doesn't realize he's a targeted individual. He doesn't realize, about. And I remember when somebody stepped forward and said, I'm targeted, and was a monarch, whatever, which is different to Brian. But I met up with this girl in the park. She agreed to meet me. She was in the Facebook group, and she started saying, how this world is run by, the cabal. We're just basically just like sheep and animals, and, there's no real escape. And certain, you have like cults in neighborhoods where there's groups that are protected because they're, certain bloodlines, and then there's targeted individuals. And I was looking at her as if she was absolutely mad. And she said, it's mostly controlled by off-world, so humans, when they die, they go to the astral, and so there's a whole layer there of control over this world, and a whole layer of control over reincarnation and that kind of stuff. Anyway, she was telling me all this more or less as if I was a Jew and it was a Nazi castle I was stuck inside. And I she's an interesting girl, but that's a load of rubbish. But you slowly kind of wake up to it, and it's difficult. But I'm glad I woke up before all this vaccination and all this stuff, because that is now, the mass targeting of everybody. And I got that information come through recently that, you know, the target individuals are going to feel a certain amount of, well, a lot of release. It's going to kind of lift off them, and everyone else is going to experience what reality is like, because it is reality, you know, it is the way it is, you know.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. What was this recently you met this person in the pub?
who?
Was this recently that you met this girl in the pub that told you all these things? Or was it a
No,
while ago?
6 years ago.
6 years ago, right? But so how? Well, I obviously she must be a targeted individual, but how did she get her information? I'm just curious.
Well, I think it is. I think it's in groups, isn't it? People go around waking other people up, you know, and I didn't really want to be woken up. You know, someone came to me and said, you know, I'd read your book, In for the Kill, and you're, you know, you've been put into the projects. What is people, target individuals have been put into the projects. And as you know, people, they've got who controls this planet? They've got lots of projects, and, you know, the vaccination project, Agenda 21 project, and the target individuals are part of a project, really. And so they told me that, and I went into this Facebook group about it, and I just didn't, you know, I didn't really talk to the people in there, and I was bored one day and sort of got talking to them, and then various aspects of my life, such as, you know, not being able to access my childhood abuse, and not being able to heal it, and the screen memory, and that is part of it as well. And I began to see it, and then I got to know that girl. Then I joined Basis, more or less, because I spoke to, and there are good aspects of Basis and bad aspects of Basis, Miles Johnson's Basis, and I joined that, went and did a Basis that was then taken down by Miles, and there was a girl called Olivia, and she befriended me, and she woke me up to a lot of ways of you know, that I was being targeted. For instance, one time when I went in Kew Gardens, my son was, I don't know, 7 or something, and he picked me daffodils, which were growing wild, right? Just growing wild. Like, in Kew Gardens, there's the right hand side where they have all the flower beds, and the left hand side where it's woods. You know, it's just woods, it's wild, 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 nothing to do with greenhouses or flower beds. And you ramble in there. People ramble. Mostly it's empty, and it's gorgeous. And they're all different trees. Anyway, there were wild daffodils, and because it was Mother's Day, he picked some. He picked some, and as I was going out, there was a woman in the thing where you pay a show pass. And I waved her, and I waved the daffodils. I didn't think there was anything wrong with picking these wild daffodils. They didn't actually look that great because they were scattered everywhere. Literally too many of them, really. And I had about 10, waved them at the person, and she came running out. She goes, "I'm arresting you." And
Sorry.
I know exactly.
Like,
Now,
please.
yeah, when you're targeted, it's best if you kind of, now this is where Brian Harvey goes wrong. The best thing to do is to calm reactions, okay? Because your reaction is also part of the targeting. And
Yes.
I didn't know that, and still to this day I do. I'm ill right now because I reacted to my ex threatening me last night. I don't feel well at all. But so my reaction should have been, here's your flowers back. No, you're not going to do that. I'm going to walk away. Do not touch me. And, you know, assert my authority, because these people are hosting entities. You assert your authority over the entity. But I didn't know it at that point. I was going, what do you mean? What do you mean? My son picked them for me. I threw them on the floor. I said, you know, have them back. But I got upset. Now, my son, meanwhile, at this point, grabbed my handbag. He was only 7, ran out in the road, amazingly didn't get run over, went
Oh
to the
my
car.
God.
Yeah, got in the car. Another woman came out who worked in there, started saying, yes, you've got to go back and talk to the constabulary and explain yourself in there. So had the two of them. Son ran off into the road, went over to the car, parked down a side road, got into the car with my keys, then came out of the car, locking the keys in the car with the handbag, and locked the car. so I was locked out of the car. And I eventually got away from these two women. I was pretty upset, and they'd said, "You got to come back. You're under arrest, citizen's arrest." I was really upset. Then I started saying, "Where's my son? My son's gone." They didn't give two shits, because entities don't give two shits about children. And one of them grabbed hold of me. I pulled away. I said, "My son is missing. I can't see him right now." My son was down the side road. I walked across the road, walked down beside my son was standing beside the car. I said, "Where's my handbag?" And he said, "It's in the car." And I went to try and it was locked. And by this point, yeah, by this point, I was beyond upset. I was beyond upset. I was very upset. And of course, it hit me, the next day. I was like, pretty exhausted from the whole, had to call the AA. And I didn't have my phone because that was in the bag in the car. Had to knock on someone's door. And, it was pretty horrific. And so I was telling this to Olivia, and she said, that was a hit. That was a slap. And what happens is a target individual will get things like that happen to them a lot of the time. And you have to be really careful that you do everything proper, do everything correct. And B, you have to taper your reactions. Like, one of my exes, and my exes have always been almost like guard dogs on me and almost like draining my energy. So you'll get a partner that will be like that will be either abusive, that will gaslight you or suck everything out of you, and also disrespect you by other women, and this kind of thing. Often partners are replaced, so they've got an entity riding them. And this individual, all I did was post a picture. This is another thing that Olivia taught me. She said, "You want to be a writer, a novelist?" And I said, "Yeah, it's been my dream since I was like 7." And of course, I've published, but only nonfiction. And she said, "Somebody near to you will have the success that you dream of. Somebody near to you," and that's done to cause you massive amounts of pain. And what happened? My ex, and I dated this guy for a long, long time, over a decade, and then also we stayed friends. So I've literally known him since I was 19. And his sister got major success with novels. She also used a character in one of them, was Private Detective, which I worked out all my life, called Christabel. So it's like I'm supposed to feel
God.
I'm supposed to feel shitty over it. And as well, she went and got a degree in creative writing. So I've read her, but I don't like it, but it's very highly educated. Even though she's working class, it's very highly educated. So it's sort of as if to sort of go to me, "You're not educated though. That's why you didn't get published." So it's like a double punch in the stomach. But I didn't feel it thanks to Olivia, who told me it was coming.
Well, can I just stop you a second? What was Olivia's background? How come she had all this knowledge?
Yeah, she had a lot of knowledge. I don't know. She kind of appeared out of nowhere. And that as well is quite a good thing. But, then it's sort of the double-blind sword. Like, she had so much knowledge, and I started to come to her with like every little thing. And because people that are heavily targeted, their lives can be like massively chaotic. They can have like a constant drain on their energy, because they're never allowed to like start climbing the steps to get any kind of equilibrium. There's always a punch at the side of the head. There's always a slap. There's always someone that comes in that you thought was a friend that does the turn and starts giving out nasty stuff. And so because you're exhausted and because you're like that, you can sometimes put on proper friends, proper good people that have come along.
Yeah, I recognise what you're saying.
Yeah,
But
you end up draining them.
She was to do with Miles Basis.
Well, she become part of it. And I did notice as well in Basis that when I told my story, that underneath, you get trolls, and they're bastards. They're again people with entities riding them, and that's why they say such things that hurt. And so that's a separate thing. But a lot of the people that were watching Basis, some of them had massive awareness of everything. So I
Mm.
grew at that time, I grew and learned, and and she was part of it. She told me a lot of things that helped me actually.
Thank God you met her. I mean, it sounds like there was a major breakthrough for a lot of things.
Yeah, there was, and I then said to her that I felt I couldn't take it anymore. Because literally, especially as well, when I did do the basis talk, sometimes when you sort of start raising your head above the parapet, you get a sort of massive onslaught. So after doing basis and putting my story out there, I did experience it a lot, but maybe I'd experienced it before and not really thought what it was, just thought, I'm an unlucky bugger, that kind of thing, and also abuse from partners. I mean, Ray took me out one time, got me blind drunk, and then pushed me over, and I cracked my nose. But I would just think, oh, that's my fault, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think I had targeting before, but wasn't really aware of it. And then when I became aware of it, when you become aware of it, it's quite interesting. But then you can think, bloody hell, this is terrible. And I remember saying to her, I can't take this. I can't take it. There was literally phone calls coming out of the blue saying all sorts of things that were, horrible. And I thought, I can't take. And I said to her, how do people live with it? And she said to me, and it was a blinding bit of advice that I've kept ever since: roll with the punches, roll with the punches.
Right.
And
So
that's the best advice I've ever had.
you were getting the phone calls after you appeared on Bases.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just
But,
yeah.
but, yeah, like having it, I had that before. Things like, that ex that rang me the other day, because I merely put a picture on, she warned me somebody near we would have the success that I, dreamed of. And my ex, who was a very long-term ex, his sister, who I knew, got this success. And it was quite amusing because I'd been warned. I thought, oh, this is it. And she was getting people say to her in reviews things that I had dreamed about since a little girl. Things like my English teacher would say to me, "You've got an amazing imagination, Christine. You're gonna be, famous novelist out there." And she would, in her reviews, like one of them said, she's got an imagination to die for, So it's like it's kind of like petty when you see it. It's kind of like pathetic. The slaps. Do you know what I mean? That it's supposed to walk
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
to
I
get you down, to make you sad, to like to like erode your spirit and put you on the floor. But when you see it, like as well as that, yesterday when my ex had a go at me about just merely posting a picture, I feel, and I don't check her website very often. I'm not interested in her books. I'm not interested in her. I feel like she was weaponized against me, but all power to her, whatever, she doesn't concern me. But I posted the other day on my Facebook a plot line for a book, and I thought, hang on, let me check to see, what she's writing recently, to see if she's using bits out of my life, because she used the private detective. So I looked on her website, saw a picture that I thought was my ex as a kid and his mother. Now, his mother looked very, very beautiful in it. And she reminded me of when I was a teenager. I thought, wow, she's stunning. And it's interesting, I find that interesting. People that are older that look good, that they did look amazing when they were younger. So it was actually more, I wanted to keep the picture of her. So I put it on my Facebook because I was on my mobile, and I said, "Oh, a picture of my ex." And next thing, he rang me, and he launched into saying, "How dare you keep away from me? Leave me alone." What? And I said, "I haven't thought about you in like years, 7, 8 years." Said, "I found a picture, and it was mainly your mum I was interested. I will take that down. Wait now." Give me a minute. Gone. It's gone. I haven't stored. Don't worry. I don't. And he went on abusing me. And you're a loser. I saw the picture of you with silver hair, old hag. and all this kind of, I mean, what the hell? I couldn't believe it. And so then I reacted in the way you shouldn't. I reacted with pure and utter rage, and I started, saying to him things he'd done to a man that I that liked. There was a friend of his, and I said, yeah, come on. And I felt lots of fear. And then I sat down on the settee and I felt his hate. I felt his hate coming at me. And then I saw it astrally. I got an astral vision of him threatening me. And the astral vision was saying, I'm going to fuck your life up. I'm going to fuck your life up. You're going to see things I'm going to do. And there's, of course, when somebody doesn't like somebody, there's loads of little phone calls they can make to people to try and cause them trouble and all this kind of stuff. And, I started to think about that and to remember. I didn't sleep very well. And I started to recall what it'd been like when I was going out with him. There were always threats. He would come round my flat and he would say, oh, you got that? Like, oh, you got a stereo player. I'll sell it to me. And I would say, well, I've just bought it for £150. And he would say, no, 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 sell it to me. Sell it. I'll give you 50. I'll give you 50. And then I would say, well, I don't want to sell it. It gives me pleasure. I'll give you 50. And he would pick it up and take it and just take it. And then
You're joking.
Oh, no, 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 he'd do this. Yeah. And he would then say, actually, come on, I said 50. Come on, we're mates. And then throw me 20 quid on the bed. And no, we weren't sexual, but I was in a flat. I'm just saying, yeah, throw 20 quid. And then there was another time he would come round and say things like, he would look round and there were vases, and I was gifted these Greek vases by a boyfriend, and they were antiques. And he would say, I'll take these away. I'll take these away. And he's got them. And one time when I went round his house, there was my vases, and it was almost like I'd kind of snapped into a different state of mind and let him take them, because I remember looking at them thinking, why did I just let him take them? They were from somebody I liked, and there they are, and there's his wife got them in the bloody hallway, and it made me feel like really weird. And then I just thought about how he'd done that when I was younger. I would move in with him. He would then say things like, I don't think I can have you here anymore, and I think you should move out. And I would say something like, but I've got no money. My parents won't have me back. Where am I supposed to stay? And he would say, oh, let's look through the paper for bedsits. There's one. And then I remember one time he took me to this bedsit. There was a baby crying. It was a horrible room. And he said, there, you've got to live there. I'll give you 40 quid and then just piss off. And I was crying, begging him, please, please don't let me stay there. And he threw me out, got my little telly. The only possession I had was a little telly. And this is so, again, the pettiness of it. My telly, you had to tune it in. It was cheap little black and white that you had to tune these knobs to pick up ITV Channel 4. And he took it out of tune. He spun them round. So when I plugged it in, tried to get it going, it wouldn't work.
Oh, so he's sadistic as well. Was this a press person, a journalist?
No, no, no. He was the novelist's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
And
known.
he is just, I just met him. I just met him when I was 19. But he was very sadistic to a man who so-called worked for him, violence. I was, had an interest in the guy. I suppose a therapist told me, he said, you and Jim at the feet of this guy, at the feet, you're at his feet, you worship him. But it wasn't really, now thinking back, what the hell, really? It wasn't like that. It was, looking back, it was the same as my more recent ex. It's bullying. It's bullying 101, and it's targeting 101. It's just bullying, but it's subtle bullying. Say I came round your house, Jonna, and I was like, oh, that's a nice box you got there. I'll take that off you for a tenner. And you went, pardon? It's no, I'll give you a tenner later. And like, literally, yeah, give you a tenner later, like that. And you went, oh, she seems a bit like she could get angry at any moment. I mean, that is just, why do we accept it off men when you wouldn't accept it off a girlfriend?
Well, it's very strange you should say that, because a memory popped into my head recently. This is really odd. of a lady that I used to babysit for when I was a teenager. This is back in Barrow, and she was very unsupported in life. She had a lot of things going on, and she didn't really have any decent friends. So she was vulnerable to getting like horrible people that would
Yeah.
sort of friend up with her. And there was this one woman who was like scary, and this isn't me being a racialist, a gypsy type woman. And she'd come round and she was really like loud and quite aggressive manner. And she did that to her. She said, "Oh, you've got a Russell Hobbs kettle. Oh, that's nice. Right, I'll take it off you for however much it was in them days, because this was ages ago. Oh, you've got this." She did that. She did that to this single parent, and because this lady basically had no support in the world, she just felt powerless, and she had that done to her. And yeah, it was this
And
really.
it can go to, to getting your property conned off you and all this stuff. I mean, he told me a story as well one time that he, pulled over as a woman broke down on the motorway. He pulled over, mended her car and said, that'll be 100 quid, please. And she went, "Oh, I thought you were just helping me." Went, "You kidding, mate? I'm a mechanic." He wasn't a mechanic. And he goes, "You've got to give me it." And he was massive. So she handed it over. Then there was another time when he had a van, and it was bust, completely bust, and he sold it to somebody, and he knew that they would get down the road and it would screw up. And I remember that. I remember the guy saying to him, "Look, mate, it's all I've got. It's my last bit of money. It is a decent van, isn't it?" And he was going, "Decent? This is a blinding van." And he said,
Mm.
"Oh, if you get in on it, if you say it's blinding, I'll give you 20 quid or something." I couldn't do it. But I still feel scared of him. And I didn't admit to having that fear. Same as I didn't admit to, my last ex having that fear of him. Yet he would do things like, you know, take I had a Lotus back in the day, and one time we had an argument, we were round his house. He went out to my car, removed something out of it, and I couldn't drive the car. Well, I could drive, but it wouldn't drive over 10 miles an hour. And that was a decent car that he could have screwed up. My other ex dropping the glass and putting it up to my neck when I was in the bath. Well, this other ex did that thing. We went to the Lake District, and there he was. We're in an Indian, and I got a feeling, an Indian restaurant. I got a feeling of really bad. Like I just thought, "Oh God, something bad's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen," and I felt terrible. It was just descending on me like a black cloud. And he said, "Cheer up. What's the matter with you? Cheer up." And I couldn't shake it, but I tried to put on an act.
Mm.
And next thing, some middle class guy. He was working class, middle class guys came in. There was about 10 of them in this restaurant, the Indian restaurant. He got up, went over to them. He goes, "What, you arseholes having lettuce, are you?" And then he got each of their heads and smacked it into their plates and
You are joking.
he started saying, "Tommy the tortoise, yeah, eat your lettuce." And these guys just wouldn't. I mean, why they didn't all jump up? But no, they did. He was big. He was very big. And he smacked their heads into this thing, and then he got one of the lettuce leaves and made this guy eat it, shoved it in his mouth. Then he goes to all the others, "Go on, Tommy the tortoise, eat your lettuce."
That is
Um,
absolutely, and this is the same guy.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That is bizarre.
Uh,
That's bizarre
what?
behaviour.
Oh, it is.
My
And then
God.
and then to be fair on him, he did go to one of those boarding schools and get bullied, and he did end up rolled up. His friends rolled him up in one of those gym mats, tied it up so he's got no hand movement and leg movement, put him down the end of the football pitch and left him there all night long, which can't have been fun. He was like 10 or something. Can't have been fun. And I don't think he forgives his family for putting him in that putting him there. He didn't need to be put there. So he had this, I suppose, that, the fagging thing and that memory of it. So, and then though we went back to the hotel. He had this sidekick, the one that he sort of bullied, that I was sort of attracted to, I suppose, victims like other victims. And he went down to the kitchens in this hotel, the guy who ran the Indian said he'd call the police. He was calling the police, so we left. Then he went down to the hotel, nicked loads of stuff from their kitchen, a big cake and other stuff. And then he came up, he had a big knife, and he sat on the bed with me, put the knife to my neck, and said, I don't know what it was. He wanted me to confess about something recently. He said, confess. And it was something really silly, like some experience I'd had, because you were lying about that experience. And I was like, but I wasn't, but why would I? So it was like a kind of I didn't know how to get out of it. And I always feel sometimes, when people are torturing people and they say, but I don't know. That was the position I was in. It always makes me feel hot and cold, because I think, what if you can't give the person who's got a knife at your neck what they want? I would have said anything, but I didn't know what to say. I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? That wasn't a lie. And why do you care? Say it was a lie. Why would you care? And so I didn't know what to say. And he had this knife at my neck, and he started putting on a weird voice, and he said, right now, all you can think of is sleep, that you're just dying of sleep, but you're not going to sleep. I'm going to keep you up all night till you confess. Oh, God, it was awful. And I don't know how I got out of it, but I don't know how it ended. I can't remember. I probably wiped it out of my mind.
Yeah. That's just off the charts. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So obviously now, when it's someone I've got away from, and, when they contact me,
very, very upsetting.
fear immediately. I felt last night when he did that in an aggressive, nasty way, and he started saying, I'm gonna fuck your life up. I thought, how can he do it? Can he find out where I live? Will he kick the door down? And this is all going through my head. So I still in literally terror of him, literally terror. And if he's watching this, I want to say, number one, I'm dating somebody at the moment. He lives quite nearby, so you'll have to deal with him. Number two, I got an 18-year-old son. He's got plenty of friends. Can you really deal with that, mate? And number three, the police will be informed. And number four, next time I won't be leaving your name out of a podcast. It will be everywhere. So if he's listening to this, then I'm not going to be his victim anymore, What I feel weirdly is somebody, a friend, did some quite powerful healing on me on, was it Sunday night or Saturday? Sunday, I think. And it was quite interesting because she cut ties, to my ex. She cut cords. And because I said, I feel like, I keep going back and speaking to him, and she goes, yeah, he's burrowed into you and you've got cording there. So she cut it, and when she did, I literally felt a sense of relief. And that's interesting that another guard dog type ex, because she said he was sucking off my energy for years. And I'd known him again the 10-year span like the other one. And he does suck my energy. He does, like, put me down in the same way as the first one would do. The first one would come around my house and say stuff like, oh, it's not very tidy, or oh, look at your sheets. And not that I would invite them to the bedroom, but they would go to the loo and say, oh, let me look round. And then they would say, oh, is that what duvet cover you got? It's a bit shabby, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
very critical.
massively. And you'd go and feel that your life was very, very, when the first ex saw the house I was living in was beautiful. There was nothing wrong with the duvet covers, but he managed to make me feel, but he did it in a sort of lightweight way. And he looked me up and down, you're a bit of a butterball, aren't you, right now? Butterball, and then sort of a laugh after. So you think, oh, he's not being nasty, but then and you think, oh, I'm a butterball, and then the last ex, I literally felt like that cording lift, and she said, I'll get rid of him for you. And I literally felt it. I literally felt it, like almost like she'd pulled out a plug in a part of me. And it was so interesting that this other ex should raise their heads at the same time. And I was sitting on the settee last night, and I was thinking, what I was feeling his hate. And then I saw him appear astrally. And some people can do that, so it's fair enough. I had a good go at him astrally myself. And then I thought, hang on, why is he astrally awake? Because I am, I'm a psychic. I admit that, and I'm astrally awake. And but why is he? He certainly doesn't, plug into stuff like that. So why is he astrally awake? And I thought, hang on, this is otherworldly. This isn't just the physical. This is something to do with the healing that was done on me Sunday night. And this other like guard dog persona to keep me down is kind of raising up, because he's obviously multidimensional and is coming at me. And today I feel worn out. I feel afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid, he might find out where I live. He might come round, he might attack my car. And, so what I felt for the last ex, that was taken away. Now I've got it for a very, very old ex I haven't literally seen in ages. And how could I have ever even done anything against them? I posted a little picture. If he just said, take that down, I'd have gone, oh, I'm so sorry. Down it comes. But no, now he's literally, I could have murdered his mother. He is literally gunning for me. So I've got this massive enemy that I have to think of all the time. And I have been thinking of him. I can't relax. I couldn't sleep last night. I can't read because I'm thinking I've got someone that wants to get me. I've got like a leery enemy, like almost like I owe money to a loan shark. And I'm really upset.
I'm not surprised. That's a hell of a lot to deal with. Do you think it might be a good idea to talk to the police since you've got such fear and because of the way he's acted in the past?
I don't know.
Does he live in London?
Yeah.
Right, so he's in London. Okay, well, I think the best thing you could do in the circumstances is contact the police and tell them your fears. Based on what you've told me and the listeners about his previous behaviour, which he doesn't seem to have any boundaries about what he does. I mean, I'm just shocked at what you've told me. I think you should get some advice from the police about what to do. Because you're obviously very upset and very frightened. And I think that's what you should do very strongly. And I'm sure the listeners want you to do that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to speak to your sister on Twitter, and I said, if it was you that saw that post on Facebook, me posting a picture, of your mum, I'm sorry I did it, and nothing against you. It just brought back a memory of when I was a teenager. That is all. And I thought she looked remarkably good looking in it, and I find it interesting. People getting older and, people younger, and she's good looking as she got older. And it's because she looked like a model when she was younger. That's the only interest I had in that picture. And, I said to her, I'm sorry if I posted it. It was online. I didn't think it was, private if it's online. I don't want it. If you complain to him, I don't know if she did or not, but if you complain to him, I want a line drawn under it now. I don't need to look at your website. The only reason I looked at it is because of the private detective thing. I'd be grateful if you didn't use my life at all. And I don't need to look at your website, but I want a line drawn under it. And she hasn't even responded, which makes me feel bad as well, because it's like I don't know what's going on, and now I'm sort of, is he angrier that is she going to say, oh, she talked to me on Twitter? Is that going to inflame him more? I mean, it's just like, having sort of a massive enemy. I mean, when I was dating him and even after as a friend, I would appease him in various ways, but just last night it was like there was no appeasing him. He kept coming at me, and then he was texting me saying, oh, look at you, your silver hair, you look like an ugly old woman with that ugly spot. And then he put loads of sick emojis and stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't faze me at all, but it was just his anger,
Very childish. How did your relationship with him end?
Well, he dumped me. He got somebody else, and then he married her, and he came around showing me the pictures, and oh, she's really beautiful. Look, I'm marrying her, and that was it. I just accepted it. I at that time had feelings for this other boy who was like his sidekick, but he was violent towards him. I had to hear that on a nightly basis. I had to hear him hitting him. I
What?
had feelings. Yeah, yeah,
You used to hit somebody on a nightly basis?
yeah, yeah.
My God. What, is he still with this woman that he married then?
Yeah, they had a child together. He's
Right.
still with.
So,
I don't know if she knows the dark side of him. I mean, I expect she would. I mean, been married
well,
a long time.
it's just interesting that he's been with this partner for so long, considering what you've just been describing of his
It's
behaviour.
weird,
So
isn't it?
obviously he can turn it on and off then. So he has some control. He must have of himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Very disturbing. Very disturbing. What does he do for a living? Has he got a career? Has he got a
Well,
job?
he didn't work. This other boy, this other man, worked for him, and he found this other man. This. Let's call him a name, Robert. Okay, this boy, Robert, and we were kids at the teenagers, my son's age. This boy, Robert, lived in a big old mansion in Richmond. He took LSD, freaked out about it, and this is a very posh upper middle class boy. The house was an 8 bedroom, maybe I suppose £10 million. You're talking close to aristocracy, double barrel name, the whole business, butler and all that, you know. And he took LSD, went and got put in the Priory. And Robert was in the Priory. Robert was very good looking. I didn't like him when I first saw him though. And very posh voice, you know, very educated, and of course had this family. Daddy was a banker, was in the Priory. One day, my ex was there with his friend, and they were doing painting, but he didn't do. Yeah, they were mucking around painting in there, but they'd got in there, I think, Youth Opportunities Program or something. And they saw Robert. Now they managed to persuade Robert to leave with them, and then Robert left with them, and then they decided, mainly my ex, decided to make Robert go out and do cleaning and stuff in other people's houses, and then they would take the money off Robert.
So modern slavery, what you've
It
described as
is
modern slavery.
modern slavery, and when I met him, it'd been going on a year, and Robert was good at making money. So Robert would bring home £500 or more cash each and every single day. And so my ex would ended up buying a house. He bought a Porsche. He lived the high life, and this guy would bring it in. Now, this is when I met him. And of course, I didn't know what he did for a living. As I was a private detective, he started saying, "You investigating me," and all this stuff. And I thought, what is he? And slowly he told me the story. And I thought, that's a bit weird. But it went on, and he goes, "Oh, it's going to end, obviously." And this Robert was very kind of, I don't know, sometimes they would drink together as friends, and I then thought myself in love with Robert, and I said to Robert, if you want to leave, I've got £300 in a building society. You can leave with me and we'll live together somewhere. And Robert went and told him. And
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
did you? I didn't see that coming. Why did it happen?
Because of the dynamics of an abusive relationship, a bit like what we were talking about last week. He's his slave now. You know, anybody who would be in the right frame of mind would question why somebody was making them go out to work while they did nothing. Now, I assume your ex didn't work. He was just getting this Robert right. So why would you work just to furnish somebody else's life? You wouldn't. But so there was that. He was probably scared that if he didn't tell him, and he found out, And if he was physically abusing him, he'd get a lot more physical abuse and he'd be punished. So there's several reasons, really. But God, what a dire state of affairs.
Oh, it was horrible. And this, oh God, it was horrible. I remember I was living in his house at the time. I had a separate room. That's the way he wanted it. And Robert came and he confessed that. And I looked at him and I thought, he could have just let it go and no, I don't want to go. But to grasp me up and to put me in that situation, oh man, I was so angry. I was so angry. I remember I stood up. I would stand up to my ex now and again. As when I would go in a certain state where I would think, come on, then you want to punch me. And I remember I put on some boots I had. I went over to the bedroom window and it was and I kicked it in. As I kicked it in, I just put my foot and I kicked all the glass in. Next thing the police were called, came up and said, "Oh, you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, well, he's a bit of a bully." And he looked at the window, he went, that is the work of an animal. It was quite funny. I had to laugh, but I'd done it. But I was just so angry, to be grasped in that way.
Yeah.
And then he would leave me little notes he would leave me notes in my books. I would have my books, and one time I found a note that said sustain the rapport. And I thought, because I know my books, I knew that A, it hadn't been there before, B, I hadn't done it. And I looked in his diary and looked at my, that note, and I knew that it was his writing. And I didn't say anything about it. I thought, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm not going to talk to him about it. And I didn't mention it. And then it was like maybe a month later, and my ex said to me, "Come here." So I went, and he said, "Getting any notes in your books?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Some people, sneaky, dishonest people, leave people notes in books." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I've never got a note in a book." And he went, "Right, you can go now." Oh,
He talked to you like that?
Yeah, he talked to me like that. But sometimes he didn't talk to me like that. Sometimes, we'd all three of us go out to dinner and it would be like normal, But
Well, that's what abusive relationships are like. Remember we talked about it. Things are all right for a while just to keep you on the hook, just to keep you just to give you that, just enough to keep you. It's almost like being a drug addict. You're just being given enough to keep in it. Some crumbs of affection or love or whatever. And then it just starts again, and then it all gets battered, and you feel like the rug's been pulled from under you.
It was weird, that whole dynamic of the three of us, because it was strange, and we had a sort of a weird bond, the three of us. I remember when I stopped going out with him, and one Christmas he rang me. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "What are you doing?" to me, and I said, "I'm just by myself." And he goes, "Let's the three of us go, Robert, me and him, to a restaurant." And we sat there and he goes, "Look at the three of us, we're all outsiders, none of us have got family, we all hate our family." And he was very funny. He was so funny. He used to say to Robert, "Oh, remember the smell of your mum's knickers? I bet you're thinking of that." He would take the piss and he would be really funny, and we would roar with laughter. I mean, he had a massive charm. I mean, it's amazing. His sister, got the fame that actually he deserved, because out of his family, I would say that he was the star. I mean, he had a singing voice that was absolutely amazing. And he would perform these little concerts in his house, invite a few friends, and they were amazing. They were people, when they heard his voice, they were like, "Is that his voice, or is that, the radio or something?" He was very powerful and talented singer. And I suppose, like, because I was a writer and he made me write, he had this massive belief in me as a writer. And I remember saying to him, "I can't be bothered writing." He goes, "What do you mean can't be bothered writing? There's a notepad sitting in that kitchen. I'm not letting you out until you've done at least 20 pages. And so there was Robert out doing the cleaning. There was me in the kitchen, locked in, doing writing. And then one time Robert climbed through the window back from his slavery while I was sitting there like Shakespeare in the kitchen. It was all really like surreal and mad, you know,
Sounds like
completely.
Tyler Durden or something. Or Fight Club. Oh
I
my
haven't seen
God.
that, but it was weird. He would say things like, he would say things to Robert, oh, because he had Robert as a sort of like a gopher. When he would come back from work, handed over the money, he would then say, "Oh, go and get us some dinner, would you?" I mean, I was there. I mean, I just, I ate the dinner, I suppose, but I was like horrified. But then Robert would cook dinner, would cook because I couldn't cook for shit. Robert would cook and then bring it up, and then we would maybe sit over near the window upstairs and eat this dinner. And then sometimes when my ex had finished eating, he would open the window and just throw the plate out, and then he would say to me, "Throw your plate out too." And so I would throw my plate out, and then he would shout down, "Robert, you need to go outside and clean the plate." Oh God, it was horrible when I think about it. It was really like just weird, like really mad.
Yeah,
Mad.
that just, yeah. Well, what kind of family was he from, your
Well,
ex?
from the novelists, I mean, her
Yeah,
family,
were they posh rich people or
working class, which is,
ordinary people, right?
but they were a little bit sort of uppity working class. I remember his sister was very into, oh, people don't go and see plays, people are scuzzy, they don't go and see a good play. And
Uh,
then
oh,
his sister went and instead of just writing like I did, I want to be a novelist, I'll write. She went off and got a PhD in it and then decided to write. So they were very class climbing. And then of course they brought their own council house, and then the mother now lives in a £1 million house. So they were very much, didn't sort of do anything for it, but sort of got it through the council house kind of thing. But they were very sort of climbing. But he wasn't really like that. He enjoyed being working class, but he was a bit, you couldn't tell really what class he was. But he didn't really aspire to anything like that. He wanted to be famous. He did have the ability to be famous. He encouraged me with my art a lot. By the time I left him on that occasion, or he threw me out, I can't remember which, I had a whole book. And that is how I published my first book. I had a whole book because he locked me in that kitchen. And he then read through it and said, "Well, this is rubbish, isn't it?" I said, "Well,
sorry.
there's, there's that bit that's good." And he literally tore out 2 pages, slapped them down in front of me and said, there was a whole bloody book full of writing, slapped the 2 pages down because that's good, isn't it? Those 2 pages. And I looked at him, I said, "Well, yeah, that's the only good bit though, isn't it?" And he went, "And there's your book." And then he goes, "And there's another notepad, and you're still locked in the kitchen." And I actually, at the end of it, I think, I don't know, it was maybe about a year, I had a book. I went to an agent, got it published. So
Mm.
yeah, he was very good at getting Robert to go out and do the, cleaning and stuff, and getting, he was good at
Yeah, where was he cleaning if he was getting 500 quid a day?
Well, he started doing windows, and he started doing that in Kensington, in Belgravia. And I think
Right.
like he was very good. I watched him in action one time. He would get a pulley, he would hook it to the top of the house, and he would climb up the side of the house like bloody Spider-Man on a rope. Then he would hang it there and do the top windows. Then he would do inside. And I think he would charge like 70 quid or something for that, which would be worth it.
Yeah.
And rich people. And then of course at the end of the day, had a lot of cash, and that was 7 days a week. He would go out 6 a.m., he would come back late, sometimes come back earlier, we would all go out to dinner. And but then I remember one time went back to my parents' house, which wasn't far away from where he'd bought the house, and I had a bad dream. And I left there 5 a.m., walked all the way, well, run really in the dark, I was scared, to his house, knocked on the door, said, "This is really horrible nightmare." And So he said, well, you can stay here if you like. And I sort of went into bed with him. We were never very sexual at all. It was all like cuddling. And next thing, police came. Police came at 6 a.m. He thought I had something to do with it because I had just arrived an hour earlier, but I didn't know anything to do with it. Anyway, it was a raid. There was about 10 cops came in. I went down to the kitchen. They said, how long have you known him? I said, just last night. He just picked me up last night. I thought, I'm not going to get in trouble for whatever they're up to. And one of the cops put their hand down the Rice Krispie packet, and my ex had appeared in the doorway. And I thought, what's he doing, putting his hand down the Rice Krispie packet? So I said to my ex, there was like about 4 cops in the kitchen at this point, the woman cop who was sitting with me and him in the doorway and the other cop with his hand down the Rice Krispies. And I said to my ex, why is he I was 19 at the time, yeah. So why is he putting his hand down the Rice Krispies? And he goes, he's looking for the toy. And that was crazy. That was so funny. And the cop put the Rice Krispies down, came over, he goes, you think you're so funny, mate? Well, you're not. Oh, God. I thought they were going to get carted off, but they didn't get carted off. I didn't. The woman cop said, you best you'll get yourself away from these two. And as soon as they'd gone, I said, what have you been doing? Turns out, he said, that Robert was helping himself to jewellery. Yeah.
Ah, the posh people's houses.
Yes.
Bloody hell. That was a bit of a twist, wasn't it?
It's a bit of a twist. It's a bit of a twist. And then his mother came one time. Now, his mother was very upper class, very stunning. And because I was the only one in the house at the time, I said to her, I was a bit scared, but I thought, she should know this. So I told her what was going on with her son, thinking that she would, help him get away. And I said, what you need to do is, get someone just to take him and get him back, maybe in the Priory or whatever. And she said, my son's a junkie. He's a broke, bothered with him. I thought, wow, you bloody bitch,
He dropped out a second. She said, my son's a junkie. And then I didn't hear, then you said broke. What?
A broken reed. I never forget that. I looked at her and
reed.
Yeah, broken reed.
So why
Wow.
did he come to the house to tell him that he was a broken reed and she was not going to bother with him?
Right. She came to bring him a cake of all things. She found out where he was living and bring him a cake. So there was this tin with the cake in. I'd brought her in. Seize my opportunity. The husband seemingly was like with Lloyd's. He was about, and she was very classy indeed, and it wasn't put on. And I think, when I said that I liked him, she looked at me as if under her lowered eyes, as if to say, "Oh, you found out his family has money." I think she thought that because there was I with bright blonde hair, and I think she thought, "Oh, really? You think he's got money?" That was the vibe I got.
Oh, yeah, I've come across this. They're really paranoid about their sons ending up with some scuzzy working class girl like you. That's the problem, isn't it? They're absolutely freaking paranoid about it.
But
My God.
was doing what, and I told her what he was doing. I told her what he was doing. I said, you need to get him away. Right, this is years ago. I said, you need to get him away, or he won't have never forget this son. Now, had it been my son, I'd go off and get a sawn off shotgun. I'd come back, say, give me my son back. And they would probably die. I really would have no control over that. I'd be livid because I love my son. That woman just walked out of there. I looked at her, I thought, is she going to do something? Now, fast forward 20 years. Guess what's happened to Robert?
In prison? Dead?
He's a heroin addict on the streets of Notting Hill.
No,
A tramp.
I'm not surprised.
Tramp. He carried on doing what he was doing. That lasted all through my ex's marriage. That was bizarre. No judgment. Did his wife know? Don't know. But that carried on so that's like 20 years or so. So that he did that literally all his life. You know, he did it all his life. He did it all his life. So I like to say to his mother, well done, love. You know, you bring a kid into the world. Don't bring a kid into the world to let them go like that.
Some of
And when
these,
you're old, you don't just walk away like a snotty bitch.
yeah,
I
but some
tell
of
you that.
these upper
I
class
often think of that
people,
woman. Pardon?
yeah, some of these upper class people, I
Bastard.
don't understand them because, well, I was going to say I used to work at West London Cyrenians, a homeless charity in London. I went to London in the very early 80s, beginning of the 80s, and there were people there that were really posh and upper class. They'd either, but they'd been basically turned mental by either marriage partners or work. There were people who'd been really high up in the city. All kinds of really crazy stories. But I used to work with upper class people. It was the first time I'd met upper class people before. And strangely enough, everybody that I worked with there was either upper middle class or upper class. And this one girl that I worked with, her parents had a prep school in Surrey because we all went there for a weekend once. And the prep school, you know, the ages of kids that get sent to a prep school, they're tiny little kids. How can you send your tiny little kid away?
It's bad. I don't know if she sent him away. I don't know if the father was a monster, but you know, I saw a picture of him because when I last saw my ex, I think maybe 5 years ago, 4 years, no, about 5 years ago, I think actually, he showed me a picture of him. He had gone up to around that area, around the Scots, and he showed me a picture. And honestly, the guy looked hollow-eyed. Firstly, he looked terrified, but that's probably because of who was taking the picture. Looked terrified, but he was never terrified back in the day. But it was interesting to see abject terror in his eyes. All his teeth were smashed. His skin looked like these people you pass on the street and you don't give a second thought. Well, I do, but a lot of people don't give a second thought because they're weather beaten and you think, oh, there's a tramp. And literally you say it to yourself, a tramp, because they look weather beaten.
Mm.
And that is how he looked. It just weather beaten, broke no teeth. Um, Terrible.
God, this is like a film. Honestly, it's like the storyline for one of these sort of indie films. You know,
That
British
story.
British indie films set in London. It is
It's a
definitely a
maybe a
storyline.
sister could write it instead
Oh
of the
God. But he
absolutely
must have
ballsy.
worked to your ex at some point. He must have done something to bring some money in. So he must have gone out and done something. I wonder what he did.
Who, my ex, he didn't do anything.
But he couldn't have lived the rest of his life like that. He must have gone out and do and
Oh no, 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 we did. No, 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 we did. It collapsed only fairly recently, 7 years ago. It left the guy, turned into fell on the streets. No, it was only fairly recently. That's gone on from teenage years to middle age. Yeah, no, no, he hasn't. So now he owns his own house. Yeah, he's got yeah, I mean, savings. So basically he's retired.
but he's still a bully and he still thinks
Yeah,
he can throw his
but
weight around.
I'm not going to be his victim. I'm not going to be his victim. So if he's listening to this next time, names will be named and I'll stand up. And I have got a platform. I'm doing something now with film companies and, about the phone hacking. I won't stand to being, if I can stand up to John Boyle, I'll stand up to him. But I know he's Larry, I know he might well come round and try and kick my door down. I'm gonna keep something by the door. He's that Larry, he's that. Yeah, I was really annoyed with him last night. I kept saying, Jim, Jim, and he was hanging up on me. I phoned him back. I said, Jim, how about your slave? How about your slave? Oh, where is Jim right now? Oh, sorry, I've given his real name. Shit.
I thought you said gin, actually. I
I
said
know, Jim. Yeah.
Ginn.
He's called Jim. He's called Jim. It doesn't matter. I haven't given my ex name. He's not called Robert. He's called Jim. Yeah. So, yeah, that's his real name. But
Right.
I said that. I said I'll make a fuss about it. You need to stay away from me. I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be.
Well,
Not going to be bullied.
All you've done is publish, well, not publish, but shared a photo of his family. You haven't threatened him. You don't owe him anything. That's all you've done.
Yeah.
And
he did, honestly, that the level of anger he had, it terrified me, and the hatred, he was speaking to me, it's like it scared the shit out of me, because now I've got a thug as an enemy. I might as well have gone to a loan shark and borrowed £5,000 and said, you're not getting it back. That is, that is who I've got on my back right now.
Well, I think you should go to the police, seriously. I really do. Don't try and do something yourself, because you could get yourself in trouble. But first step, well, you said keep something by the door. That's not sensible. That's a last resort move. That's when it's you or them. But we're in a civilized society. There are laws against this kind of thing. Do the right thing. Go to the police. Explain the situation. Referring to the past, his past actions, and ask what can they help you? What can you do to help yourself?
I remember back in talking about call him Robert again. I told as many people as I could possibly tell. Nobody helped him, and then for that man, just to have his life taken. I mean, I look at my life and think, Boyle ruined it. And then you can look at Brian Harvey's life and think, well, the news of the world ruined it. But then I don't know, how does that man look back on his life, and how
that's why he's a heroin addict, because he's obviously his family don't care about him. And you see this with some people who come from those backgrounds. Sometimes I think, coming from these backgrounds where people have loads of privilege, it doesn't help you. If you've got a problem, you're not helped. In fact, you're hindered. I've seen it time and time again. And that's probably why he fell victim to somebody like your ex.
Why?
Because if he'd had support, if he'd had the sort of like the inner resources and the structure, like I said, what person who values himself would allow themselves to be treated like that? So obviously he was in a mindset where he was vulnerable, he was exploitable, and this is why a lot of modern slavery that happens in this country, this is why a lot of men, just like Robert, like you've described, this is happening here and now, and I've come across them in places where I've worked within the last few years. They end up being kept in sheds, fed drugs, barely fed, and worked to death by people. A certain class of people that I won't mention.
Class of people?
What
class?
Eh?
What certain class of people?
Let's say they're very mobile. Let's say they're very mobile people. And yeah, it's exactly that. So what you've described is modern slavery, but what, 20 years ago or something, or however many years ago. So, but all the men that this happens to, they've all got the same things in common. They've either got learning disabilities, mental health issues, or they're very vulnerable in some form. So, Robert was very vulnerable.
But it's quite weird, because he was quite the bitch. Like, when we would all go out to dinner, he would say like spiteful things about people in his like posh voice.
Was he gay? He sounds like he was gay.
Well, weirdly, when I went to Primal Therapy and told them this whole story, in America, he went, and how long have they both been gay? And I went, they're not gay. And he made that look, as if to say, wake up. I mean, I don't know. Were they gay? I mean,
sounds like it to me.
Hey.
Yeah, so maybe your ex is bi.
Oh my God, that's horrible. Well, horrible. I would rather know about that, because of not using protection and stuff.
Maybe that's why he's angry.
What do you mean?
Well, he's gay, but he doesn't want to admit it to himself.
Does that make them angry?
Oh, yeah. And maybe that's why he had hatred to get. I've had things like this in my life, even in relationships. for
Sorry,
definite.
sorry, he had what to get out? What did you just say?
Um, so that's why he was like being horrible to you
Why?
because he's gay inside. You know, he's like get, but well, part of him, either half of him, three quarters of him, or whatever. I mean, it can't be a full gay, can he? Because he wouldn't be having a do-da with you. But
Yeah.
no, I think there's some men for definite. I 100% believe this because I've experienced this myself. Um, they are they are bisexual, but they don't, for whatever reason, be it cultural, religious, whatever reason, there is a obstacle to admitting that they are gay and are attracted to other men. And they end up, I think, abusive and hateful towards you. I bet
Well,
they were.
that's weird because one time I had, excuse me, a sanitary towel, and I was changing, and I just had a, when you sort of take it off and you've got it in your knickers and you're just kind of getting new knickers and you just take it to the loo in a minute and you're in a bedroom. I did that. He came in and he went, "What?" I said, "I'm just about to take that to the loo." And he went, "That is utter," and he went on about how disgusting it was, how evil. So
Oh my God.
that,
Yeah.
and at various times when he was hitting the other boy, he would use a bar and I would try and listen in. It was down in the kitchen, it was a huge house. And I would try and like go down. And when he hit him, I would hear the Robert going, "Oh, oh," like that. And as he went, so he hit me, he would go, "Oh," like that. And I would think, hang on, that sounds like sexual. I mean, I was pretty like, when I was a teenager, I was pretty like dopey blonde. Obviously I wasn't that dopey, but I wasn't very, because of my abuse, I wasn't like, more aware. Like now I'd think, what the hell? Come on, guys, get a room, but then I was a little bit, I was like, is that gay? I did think
That
that.
well, well, maybe you were a beard. You know, a beard.
What does that mean?
A beard. That's when there's well, seems to be plenty of it going on nowadays. That's when a gay man is married, or it's like Tom. Oh no, I better not say. We might get sued. Certain Hollywood actors have had beards or have got beards. So they get married or they're in a relationship with a woman, but it's a cover. They're not really. It's to make them look heterosexual. So maybe if he was in denial about his bisexuality, so you were a bit of a beard. Oh, it does sound like you had something going on for definite. And yeah. I don't know. This all sounds really mental.
Oh, I know. I wasn't very sexual actually. And so whenever we did have sex, it was more or less I would lay back and think of England. So I think he preferred that. I guess a more normal woman would want something, performance. I
Did
don't,
it seem like proper sex?
it didn't, no.
Mm, yes, I think the light bulbs are going on bit by bit.
Yeah, that's odd
It's gonna end up
actually.
like Blackpool Illuminations at this rate, love. Um,
It's quite odd because my other ex, he's got a friend that gives him money, and a quite classy friend. And I always think, why is his friend giving him money? And it's quite nice that he gives him money, but I thought, is he gay? And then interesting, the serial killers that I've studied, they're gay, and they're not outwardly gay, but when you go and see them, you're like, you're gay. You are so gay. Do you know what I mean? Because they're
yeah.
like sort of, they purse their lips and they've got that real like women, they're women. And I wonder if I had some kind of weird attraction to that, people that are closet. I mean, my brother, I think he was closeted. I
Yeah,
think maybe
maybe
my
you
brother.
do. Yeah, maybe you do.
That's horrible though, isn't it? I mean, why are they, I mean, I guess, so it's angry because they really 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 want a man.
They're in denial, and partly. But then why are they with you? So they can't be a fully homosexual. So they must be bisexual, but they're denying that side of themselves. And it's like frustration, isn't it? I mean, it's like Well, you know, it's like us denying that we've been attracted to boys and men, and never being allowed to have a relationship, being forced to have relationships with women. I mean, it'd be horrendous. That's enough to turn anybody loopy, isn't it? But I'm not saying that as an excuse for people's behaviour, but it must be, but the anger and the frustration must build up to like nuclear fission levels. So they're going to take it out on. But
Women.
I mean, the whole thing's bloody weird.
Why take it out on women though?
I don't know. I don't know. That I can't answer. Why have a relationship?
Bianchi. Yeah, that sounds like Bianchi, actually. There he was with his cousin. I always thought that he was maybe having sex with his cousin, and the girls were just like a sort of a let's torture some, you know?
Where is it I heard the other day or I read or something that some gays really hate women. I mean, they're just like, and I think Julie Birchall said that about like the fashion world, because a lot of the fashion icons, the designers are gay men. And so I think she sort of said, well, some of the designs are just they're anti-women, they're not for women, you know. So there might be something in that. Excuse me a sec, I've just got to just go somewhere a second.
So, listener, this has been a really long show. I know I've been confiding a lot in it, but I had a happening last night and I just feel overwhelmed. And my immune system is pretty low. And when my immune system is low, then there's COVID floating around. And I do really feel quite ill, quite battered down, quite ill today. I don't want fear to rule me. And I do feel a little bit feared of that guy, but maybe I should think about, the fact is he's older now and probably not so feisty with coming around people's houses, but I wouldn't put it past him to pay somebody to come and get me.
Right, back
Yeah.
again. What were you saying? That you put it past him to pay somebody?
Yeah, it's just like it's really, it feels like targeting. It does feel like targeting because I got away from that other ex and now this other one has sprung up and he seems to have that extra dimensional it could be any ex, but it has to be this one, the sort of
Yeah,
guard dog one. And I think
yeah.
they were maybe put on me to just drain me, keep me down and
It's almost like it's been up to level with the aggression and the insanity, isn't it?
Yeah, because my other ex had that same effect on me. He would get me in the car, drive too fast, or threaten me. And lately he's been really aggressive. Like, he will take me out for a drive, perhaps. Then he will cause an argument again over nothing. The last argument was that I had a carrier bag with a pie box in it and wanted to put it in a recycling place, and he started screaming that it smelt funny. Now there was no food in it, so how could it have smelt funny? And then it ramped up to screaming abuse at me that I was a loser and all this. And then when I didn't say anything, I got out of his car, and when he did, he came round and shut the door again, and he squared up to me. Then when he drove off, he got the car in a weird way that it kind of skidded and tried to like hit me with it. I was standing there. So, and I have managed to get to a point where I'm not going to see him. I had that healing thing, and the healer said that he was corded into me. She pulled it out, and I literally felt like distance from him. I really did. I felt like, whoa, I feel like he's gone. And for that other one to spring up, it's made me feel, I don't know, like, how do I protect myself from that? It seems like a spiritual attack for sure.
Yeah, it does seem odd.
And I'm
Very,
back feeling fear, which is
yeah.
why I got rid of my recent ex, because I thought I can't handle feeling this fear. I'm going to get COVID because my immune's low. And so got rid of him and did it in a nice way. I emailed him. I said, I'm dating somebody now. Here's a picture of him. He comes round a lot. So there's a man around, and I don't want you to come round, but I wish you well and happy birthday. And I said that. And so I thought, well, he's got no excuse now to hate me. So, and I felt good about it. And then for this other one to come, when I've done nothing. I've done nothing. And it's ramped up the feeling of that I'm someone's victim massively.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. I mean, I do know about targeting. I do know about not reacting. I'm trying not to react. I'm trying not to fear, but I do know what he's like. I wish his sister would talk to me. I think, she's used my character in one of her novels. She's used a private detective with a similar name. So how about respond to me? I sent her a very respectful Twitter. Why can't she say something, Like, oh, I didn't say anything, or, I'll try and smooth it over. No, nothing. I mean, somewhere, what I find as well, some women know that they've got a man like that in their orbit, and they know that man has to vent. And what they do, they think, well, let's point out a woman over there and let them vent on that. Like with my most recent ex, he was seeing this woman, married woman, lived in another country, and she'd come back and fro, use him for sex, and then sort of, I'm back with my husband now. So this made him feel very, very angry. She then said to him, oh, I found one of Christine's blogs online talking about a man she went out with called Steve, who she had a love-hate relationship with. And I think that's you. And because she loved him so much, that's really put me off you. I feel like maybe you're hers. And then, so he's not angry with her for using him and being back with her husband. Oh, he's angry at me. And he even said that to me. You fucked up my relationship with her. You screwed it up. I loved her, and you in my life. What'd you have to blog for? You've ruined that for me, and I can't ever forgive you. Hate, 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 hate. And I think that's what this other one. I think that I'm again always vulnerable to that kind of. Oh, there you go. Hate her, and don't vent on me.
Yeah, men
Yeah.
in rejection, eh? Well, he knows that that's not the real reason why he was rejected, and that
Oh,
she's just using that as an excuse, isn't she?
yep, she
Yeah,
is. It
I
was
can
clear.
see that.
Oh yeah, clear it wasn't him. I again felt like contacting, and then you get accused of being, oh, what you doing that for? But I feel like saying to her, look, mate, you're having a relationship with someone. Don't go and look me up and find a blog and say and start trying to pointing, pointing him at me. I mean, it's not really right. He's got no reason to be angry at me, but really, you just have to get someone like that out of your life, that they can't come near you. But then there's the fact, if they know where you live, you're always at the disadvantage. They might always find a reason to hate on you for something. I think the only way to sort of get out of that is to not let them know where you live,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So I best go and take my
yeah.
son out.
To the top of the hour, isn't it? So we're left with a bit of a dilemma, really, aren't we? You're
What?
left feeling vulnerable. Uh,
Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to kill the feeling.
mm,
I don't know how to kill the feeling. I don't. In the past, in the past, I suppose I would just tolerate it and just think, yeah, maybe they will come round, and just lived with it. But now I'm more awake and aware. I've done a lot of therapy. I lived with a brother who was like that. He would come home from school, he would come in my room and punch me, and he had a bad day. So I would live with that, and I'd live with an alcoholic who would go out, have a drink, and then come home and victimize me. But I'm older now. I can't do that. I just can't. And
yeah.
I don't have a relationship with men, and I don't have it because I think, well, what if I got one like that? What if I met somebody, he was like really sweet, and then suddenly he turns.
Yeah.
And I think being a targeted individual as well, that can happen. You can be set up.
Yeah.
It does make you isolate. That's why I was really pleased to do the channeling and finding out that this is lifting to a certain amount, and also, my psychic ability is increasing, and so is everyone else's. So you can see into one, when you meet somebody, if they are really familiar, you can think, well, hang on. And that's the double bind, though. You can look at someone and think, well, they're familiar and it's comfortable, but oh, they're a bit like dad or they're a bit like your brother. And it feels really comfortable and it makes you feel more at home in the world to be dating someone like that. But of course, if they are like that, they are going to perhaps have an abusive side. So it's like a double bind. It's bad. It's if you've been targeted from birth, you're pretty much need
Yeah.
to go into some kind of healing capsule and get
I think
reprogrammed.
I think you should give yourself a couple of days to calm down and
Yeah.
then maybe do some more channeling and see if you can get any information about how to protect yourself against this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
But give yourself some time to calm, like in every way,
Yeah,
physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, just like have that downtime, process it, and then like just let it go to a certain degree. And then when you're in the right state of mind, see what you can find out about how to protect yourself, what this is, what's going on. But yeah, you've given us some really valuable information today. I mean, we've started as a bit of an introduction to targeted individuals, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I've got an oil I made actually. You just reminded me an oil. I made an oil out of lots of different oils because I ordered them. It's got vetiver, it's got vanilla, it's
It
got
sounds
jasmine.
lovely.
Yeah, but it's called, I labeled it, it's called He's Hurt You Again. And after you've been abused, if you like inhale it, if anybody wants some, I can make some up. Once you inhale it, it really does give you a sense of self-worth, a sense of like healing. I've run out of it. I need some right now, but that is good after, a sort of heavy slapping because I just had my other ex and I was just getting over the trauma of him that I stupidly met him in the park and once in the middle of the park just because I said I was reading the Kabbalah, he went into a rage at me and started really raging and then saying, you've ruined my day, and he going at me. They do that. They square up as if like they're gonna sort of, have a ruck with you, sort of that
My
way. It's
God, what
disgusting.
unhinged.
It's disgusting. And then he went walking back to his car ahead of me. I was just crossing over the little bit of road, and I could tell that he was going to come round and try and run me over. And he did do it. And I thought he's going to come up on the grass to hit me. And I was literally felt fear. And that was only a few days ago. So I felt like worn out from that, like really bad and like
Yeah.
a bit in shock because it's my safe space, that park, and it's my safe.
Yeah.
And he came in there and did that, tried to run me over and squared up to me. So it's like I was feeling weak from that. And then to get another hit, you literally feel like on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that. I've had somebody driving a car at me, and I had to jump out of the way. They completely deny it now, but oh yeah, I didn't have to jump out the way for nothing. So I've had that. I know what you mean. Well, no contact ever again with that person for any reason because he's obviously he's a threat to you. He's a threat. He's not just a threat to your well-being. He's a threat to you physically.
Yeah.
So. I don't know, have one of your nice salt baths and have a good cleanse and get some sleep and burn some incense, get some salt in the corners of the room, get clean in the area and put on the armour of God, offer up some prayers for strength because yeah, Archangel Michael's good for this kind of thing, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah, Archangel Michael. Yeah, well he defeated Satan, didn't he? So whatever your beliefs are, that's the idea of Michael. That's what his image is. So if you concentrate on that image and get his protection, he's got his big sword to protect you. So yeah, but it is horrible. And it's brought up obviously a lot of memories that you've expressed in this show. It does sound like a film. Honestly, I can just see this film in my head already.
Really? What would it be?
I've
What would be the theme of it though?
Well, it'd be one of those films about people having odd relationships in London, you know, in London, and like, and it's, you know, very interesting, unique characters. Not diminishing anything that's happened to you, but honestly, I could see this. It's a play at least. And that woman saying, "Oh, we don't go to plays." Well, you've lived a bloody play, love. So
Yeah,
uh,
it actually Colin Wilson, you know, the writer, when I went up there, the three of us went up there, and my ex had a TR7 at this point, and Jim / Robert went in the boot all the way up to Cornwall. Can you imagine that? I jumped in there for a minute and I was like, whoa, I can't do that. He scrunched up in the boot for, I don't know, like 6 hours. Ah, mad.
just to get to court. Well, that says everything, doesn't it? Really? Don't you think?
It does really. Yeah, I'd like to devote this show to his mum, Patricia. Patricia, if you're out there, thanks a lot for listening to what I was saying, for walking away, for calling your son a junkie when actually he didn't go near drugs. And yeah, so now there he is, crouched in a doorway as we speak, covered in rags, no teeth, and he's got a degree from Durham University and grew up with a butler bringing him foie gras on a silver platter. How's that happen? Maybe his life story. Yeah.
How does she sleep at night? How can you sleep? Your flesh and blood's out there.
Yeah, and you're moneyed, and you're moneyed up to the hilt, moneyed up to the hilt.
This is what money does for you. I'm glad that I'm poor. I really am glad that I'm poor, because I never want to be like that. I'd much rather be how I am now, because that is just horrible.
It's horrible. Talk about let someone down.
Oh, that's well, God help the woman when she goes to the other side, because she'll have to face God, won't she? And I wouldn't like to be her. You can't do that. It's wrong. You can't do that. I mean, there's people that have done all kinds of horrendous things and they're in prison, as we all know. And the parents still go and see them, and the relatives still go and see them, because at the end of the day, they're a human being, you know.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought when I told her, maybe she doesn't believe me or something. But I think looking back now, I mean, he was young for God's sake. Looking back now, I think she knew. I said to her, he doesn't take drugs though. He doesn't take drugs. And he's in this situation. He needs rescuing. I even said it was like a cult in a way. I said he's formed like, you know, a cult leader and he's the follower. I said, watch a movie. It's a movie where a girl got in a cult and her family rescued her and I said, you need to get him away from, you know, this character. And so he doesn't have to, you know, do this going out to work every day. And she, oh, he's a broken reed, my dear. Why do you care so much about him? Oh, really?
It's all about respectability, isn't it, with these people? Half the time. I mean, oh God. Thank God for karmic justice. Oh well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been a very interesting show. Great story, Christine. Can't wait to go and see the play and watch the movie. I don't know what you're going to call it. You're going to have to think.
We could call it The Good Mother.
I'm just looking forward to the scene where you're in the restaurant in the Lake District and he's going up to those guys and going, "You let his tortoise." I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. That's horrible. That was.
I told my son that story the other day. That's what's fresh in my mind. That's horrible. You know, why didn't they?
But it's bizarre at the same time. I mean, why there was a few of them? Why didn't they just stand up? So what the hell do you think you're doing, mate? And they could have stopped him. Why did they not stop him? Oh.
It was 10 of them, and okay, yeah, my ex was big, but come on, guys. I don't think I would have been able to because of my pride. Because how did those guys then have a good evening? I mean, they wouldn't have done. I still think of them, and I think, has that traumatized them? Maybe for the rest of their life.
I mean, well, I think you should write the play and exercise this out of you.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Exercise it out of you. I mean, the characters are there. yeah, it's narcissism through literature or whatever. Okay, it's coming up to 2 hours, so we'll stop now. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the show, been informed and entertained, if nothing else, and we look forward to you listening to our podcast next week as well. So it's goodbye from Jana.
Oh, goodbye from me, and thank you for interviewing me so well, Jana, at this time over the Target Individual show. Yeah, so
Well,
thanks.
it's been very interesting. All right, so we wish you all the best.
Listening, listeners.
Yeah, and heal, Christine, and you'll be all right. You'll bounce back 100% stronger as ever. Okay.
Thank you. And everyone else out there is going through it will too. And leave your comments below, and let's have a conversation below.
Yeah. God bless all. Right. Bye.
Everyone. Bye bye.